how can we bundle some events to reduce event volume while keeping key details? Glad you asked. The actual answer is controlling your cardinality. Usually when events get out of, or the total amount of events, by the way, you can see this here. If you click events and then you look at the top left, in my case, it's 342. What you can do next is, first of all, what I always recommend if you have messy data is to look at your volume. I think 14-day trend, to get an idea of like, is it still running or is it not running anymore? And then last but not least, what I would always as well advise is to have a look at the 30-day queries. I'm gonna put you guys here because I have this massive screen in front of me and I have the impression that I'm gonna reduce that a bit. Poof, put you guys here, up. But essentially what you have here is you have 342 events, right? What I usually do is when I have an account like this, I have a look at, are we still consuming data? Meaning that, do we have a block chart or like a bar chart popping up to indicate we're consuming? And then the second thing I would do is I would look into last 30-day volume and last 30-day queries. What does last 30-day volume mean? It's essentially like, what is the volume that we've been ingesting in the last 30 days, right? If I do this, you see that in the last 30 days, I have 63 pages, which means that I'm still consuming it. Why is this important? For a couple of reasons. One, if you have zero volume, it means that you probably can get rid of that event, right? Because it clutters everything. Two, and that's something that is a secret to optimize your pricing. If you have events that you never use, but that require a lot of volume, you might want to cut it because you might hit your total events in your plan or your total MTUs. It could contribute to your costs rising, right? So always interesting. 30-day queries, what does this basically mean? It means like how many times have people actually used it in your account? I have built or I have queried the PageView event within Amplitude as an analyst in any of these charts create. I have done that 128 times in the last 30 days. So there must be value, right? This is a proxy or an indicator of value. The key component where you can save a lot of effort is everything that has 30-day volume 0 or everything that has high amounts of volume but 0 queries, because that's most likely something that's just going to cost you a lot of money. Nobody has value from it, right? So those two things. Next, the second element is that a lot of people, when they start with Amplitude, they name things as they see them. Blue button selected, yellow button selected, purple button selected, no, selected, right? The whole idea of Amplitude is that and I'm actually going to draw this, makes it more interesting. Instead of doing blue CTA selected, purple CTA selected, green CTA selected, what you actually want to do is you want to abstract a bit. This is what we call like controlling cardinality. My cardinality in my account at event level today is 342. What does it mean? That I have 342 unique events. What is the problem with that? It makes your account very messy, because if I go into segmentation charts and I want to select any of these events, like good luck finding what I need, right? Essentially, what you want to do is you want to make it for your end user, your analyst, but also for your developer, we'll come back to that, as easy as possible to name things. Because if a question comes up, like the whole idea is that it's a tree structure that you can actually use. So if we go back here, instead of calling it the blue call to action selected, purple call to action selected, green call to action selected, what I want to do is I want to call it CTA selected, and I'm going to add a property, and that property would be button color. And that button color could have three values. It could be blue, it could be purple, and it could be green. As a result, I can have the same outcome when it comes to analysis, but I have 3 times less events because I went from 3 events to 1 event. Like in practice, what does it look like? To give you an example, get rid of this. Amplitude.track, what did I say? Blue CTA selected. Let's just try it to show you what it looks like. I had purple, I had green. If I now go to my Amplitude account and I go into live stream, you see I have 3 events, right? All of a sudden, like if the question now comes, which button was selected the most? What I need to do is I need to do green CTA selected, I need to do blue CTA selected, and I need to do purple CTA selected. I need to bar chart it out. For the sake of the exercise, because this is a bit boring, I'll send in 2 more greens, give it a minute, and then if we refresh later, it's going to be 3. It's going to be nice. And so to answer this question, I need to have 3 clicks. So I'm clicking a lot, that's one thing. But also, if I save this chart now, this configuration is saved. So next week, somebody wakes up and they decide that we need an orange button. So the developer says, well, I'm basically naming things the way they are, so I'm going to do orange CTA selected. 2 weeks later, your boss asks which CTA is actually selected the most. You're going to look at this chart. You are clueless about the fact that an orange CTA was added because that was asked to the developer and not to you. And as a result, you answer, well, the green CTA was selected the most, while the orange CTA might actually have 10 clicks, but it was not part of the chart, right? So it doesn't auto-update. Now, what's the solution to this? If we do the following, instead of doing green CTA selected, we're gonna do CTA selected. We're gonna add, what did I say? Button color, I think. And I'm gonna say green now. I'm gonna do green, I'm gonna do purple. I'm gonna do twice purple. I'm gonna do a blue one. Okay. So now if we duplicate this, so I have CTA selected event, and now what I do, the simple thing is I just do button color. Group by, very powerful feature. And as a result, like this whole thing is calculated for me, right? I don't need to know how many colors there are because I didn't name things the way they are. I just know that this element that I'm interested in is a CTA. And if the analysis comes, which color is it? I know I have a property that holds that color. Even if I save this now and I add, for instance, the example of orange, you save this, you have no clue that orange was actually added. Zero clue, you are not informed, unfortunately. But if I refresh this chart, should I press the little snail? And it means like I can let go of the mental load of going through the release logs and figuring out like which values were added, etc., and which events, and as a result, which charts need to be updated, which are linked to which dashboards or which analysis. I basically know that the data structure is going to do the work for me. So essentially what I want to do is I want to have a very, my event needs to be kind of like self-explanatory. Usually Amplitude uses action object, button selected, right? Those type of things, object action in the past tense to indicate that it's completed. And in there, there's going to be a couple of properties. Think of properties to contextualize an action and provide details. That's kind of what it does. And so as a result, you can go, in my case, from 300 events. Usually what I say is like, I want to be below 100. Most things can be solved within 100 events. And even 100 events, I feel is very like royal. You need to have like a big application or a big like ecosystem of things with very individual features in order to even reach 100 in most cases. There is no correct answer to what is the perfect tracking plan, right? Naming things as they are is high cardinality, right? And then on the other opposite of the spectrum, you would have like ultimate abstraction, where you said like interaction triggered and everything would be a property. Don't do that, right? But what you could do is like figure out, okay, which elements of my product are super important and should get a lot of weight. Typically, if you're in SaaS, it would be sign-up funnels. It would be upgrade funnels. In e-commerce, it would typically be from the add to cart or product detail page to all the way to the checkout. Like these things, they could deserve to be their own event, right? All of the rest, you can kind of like wrap it down into more abstracted layers and say like, hey, I don't care if it's a newsletter button or a complaint button, let's just call it button or form completed, these type of things, right?